What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm showing you guys my full mixing template on Logic Pro. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this one. Alright, so as I just said, I use Logic Pro for my mixing. This is what my template looks like after I've recorded the drums. As you can see, I have a snare channel, a kick channel, hi-hat channel, high tom channel, left overhead channel, floor tom channel, right overhead channel. This is a very, very basic setup for mics and stuff. Some people will have two snares or two kicks, kick in, kick out, stuff like that. I don't. I make it work with what I have. So yeah, this is a very simple, should be very simple to set up. Just set up these, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different audio channels. Now, as you can see down here, we're gonna get into this stuff soon, but I have 4 channels for triggers here. So I use triggers for kick, snare, high tom, and floor tom. And basically all that I do, and this is what I do right after I record my mics, is I'll hold down Option and drag the snare into the trigger channel, just like that. So it's still in this channel, which is giving the natural sound, and then this channel, which is the trigger sound. And then same with like the high tom. I'm gonna go ahead and do all of it right here because I'm gonna have to. High tom and then floor tom, just like that, and then the kick as well. And you guys don't have to copy everything that I do to get my sound, really. I'm gonna show you just the basics of everything, and you guys can go for your own sound off of that. So this is what my Logic Pro looks like when I'm ready to start mixing. Also, a cool thing is this little sum channel up here is not taking any audio signal or anything. It's just grouping all of my drums together, except for the triggers. So basically when I record, all I have to do is press this one record button up here and it'll record all my drums, which is very nice. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a listen. I just recorded this short groove here, including all my drums, and let's go ahead and take a listen to see what it sounds like. This is with no triggers. Here we go. Alright, so that is basically all the natural sound. And you might be wondering, that does not sound great, and I agree with you, it does not sound great, which is why triggers are so huge. But it also doesn't sound great because I have these channels over here adjusted to the volume I like when I'm mixing it with the triggers. So like, for instance, the kick, I have that all the way down. All I'm using this channel for is to pick up the signal, and then I'm dragging that into the trigger channel. Alright, now let's listen to it with the triggers. Now, a thing you have to worry about with triggers, and I have to worry about basically every time I record, is mistriggering. So triggers is basically taking a recorded sound and replacing it with a different sound. But sometimes if your channels don't have things called noise gates, which is a gate you make to pick up one sound, like for example, I have a noise gate on my snare and it just picks up the snare sound, not a kick sound or tom sound. But sometimes if the noise gate malfunctions and the snare is not being hit, the trigger could trigger something that's not the snare, if that makes sense. That I know it's a ton. Anyways, let's go ahead and hear what it sounds like, and keep in mind there could be some trigger malfunctions that we'll have to fix. Alright, the triggers actually sound pretty good in that. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into what is on each specific channel. Now, there are plugins that I bought. Yes, there are things that if you want to get the same sound as me, you will have to pay for. But these things are well worth it. Let's go ahead and open up what each channel looks like here. As you can see, not a lot of stuff on the first couple channels, and then the triggers kind of get a little crazy, but we'll get into that. The things that I paid for is, first of all, this silencer plugin. I use this on every single drum, and it is the noise gate. I used to use the old Logic Pro stock noise gate, and that does not really work well, or I just don't really know how to use it right. But silencer is really good. I don't remember the prices of these, but it will be in the description. Silencer is well worth it. The other thing I bought is a thing called SSL channel, which I use again on basically every single drum. It's just probably the best EQ out there for drums. It has so many options, as you can see here. Well worth it. Let's see, is there anything else I bought? Trigger 2. This is Slate Trigger 2 by Steven Slate, and I have the Pro version where you can add your own samples. But there is a version that you don't have to pay for that comes with stock samples, which are actually pretty pretty decent. I used to start out with those. All right, I started out with those. Yes, again, this will be in the description below. Valhalla, I believe this was free. It's just a reverb. And then, yeah, I think that's all that I bought. So nothing too crazy really, actually. But let's go ahead and start out. This is our sum channel right here. Next, we have our snare channel. And all this has, actually, I don't even have the noise gate engaged on that. So as you can see, I don't even have the noise gate on here, and that's because I'm just looking for the snare sound, but also a little bit of the room sound, if that makes any sense. Sometimes people will have a room mic dedicated just to hear the drums from the room's point of view. But yeah, I don't have a noise gate. I don't really know why, but it works. So this is what just the snare channel sounds like right now. Yeah, so just raw snare sound. Next we have the kick, and as I said before, this is turned all the way down in my mix, and I'm just using a noise gate on that. So if we solo it, all you'll be able to hear is just the raw kick sound with the noise gate. Yeah, so again, no effects or anything on that, and I have it turned down. This is just to register the kick's audio signals. And I'm not a pro at all on this, so if I'm using wrong terms, please let me know in the comments below. Anyways, this is the silencer settings here. Again, as you can see up here, it has kick, snare top, snare bottom, and toms. These are all presets that you can put. So like, for example, I have the kick on here. Yeah, silencer is well worth it. Next, let's move on to the hi-hat. The hi-hat has an SSL channel on it. And I believe all I did for this was just use the hi-hat preset. So once you get this, it has all these presets over here, like actually a ton. And like I just used this preset right here for hi-hat. I don't think I changed anything, but yeah. And then also I have, looks like I have a compression I'm not using, so I'm just gonna take that off. A channel EQ down here. And it looks like all I did was just cut off the low end, as you can see here. And this EQ is just the stock Logic plugin. So here's what just the hi-hat mic sounds like. And keep in mind, I do not have a noise gate on this, so you're gonna be hearing some background noise as well. Next, let's move on to the high tom. Now, this mic is, just like my floor tom, actually picking up the natural signal at full volume here. And I actually think it sounds pretty great. Let's go ahead and listen to how it sounds right now. Yeah, so just good, kind of short tom sound, not really lasting, which I might change in the future. But all it has on it is the silencer, and it's the tom preset, just like that. An SSL channel, and it is the rack tom preset, and these are all the EQs. I might have changed a little bit of this, but you guys can look at that. And then I have compression. I have the same compressor, I believe, on both of my toms. So this is the actually Logic Pro compression plugin, and this is Vintage Opto. Here's all the settings down here, and then the Opto toms was the preset. So yeah, that's the high tom. Sounds really good. This is the left overhead next. I have it at this volume right here. I don't really like my overheads too high, but let's go ahead and hear what the overhead sounds like. Yeah, so just really picking up that bright cymbal sound. And I think that's really good for a mix, is to pick up those really bright cymbal sounds. And as you probably can also hear, it has a little bit of the mics, or a little bit of the drums in the background, so it's kind of acting as a room mic as well, which is really nice. I have the SSL channel on this for a CLA overhead 2 preset. These are all the settings down here. And then a channel EQ, again, cutting off the low end. Which actually this does a lot in the mix. And then I actually have a compressor on the overhead. As you can see, this is Rock Overheads preset, Vintage FET, and then here's all the settings and stuff. All right, moving on to the floor tom, which again is actually full volume in my mix. I really like picking up the natural tom sound. I used to not do that, and it used to be full trigger. That was before I lost my previous template, but I actually like the sound more now. This is what the floor tom sounds like. Yeah, so it actually sounds really good. It has the silencer on it, and by the way, these are the same plugins as the high tom. So silencer plugin on it. Here's the settings, SSL channel, just the floor tom preset. The rack tom was the high tom or rack tom preset, but here's all the settings. And I did change a little bit of this. I forget what it was, but you guys can look at that. And then compression, opto toms, again, same one as the high tom. So yeah, pretty cool. Then right overhead is the exact same settings as left overhead. It's got the SSL channel, the channel EQ, cutting off the low end, compression, the Rock Overheads Vintage FET. So pretty simple. That does it for all of our mics. Now, for the triggers, like I said earlier, I use Slate Trigger Pro, which I use a variety of samples actually. So we're gonna start out with the kick. Here's what it sounds like with just the trigger. Yeah, so just a really, really nice, fat, simple kick there. So here is the sample I'm using. It is the Dallas 24 kick. And I got this actually from my church, and we got it off of perks.live. And this is Ish Melton's drum sample pack. So I got just the Dallas 24 kick plug in there, or Dallas 24 kick sample. And I have that pretty much at full volume. It looks like I had reverb on here, but I took it off, it looks like. Maybe I'll just turn that down the mix because I still like that. So I have Valhalla Supermassive Verb on here. This is the Great Annihilator mode, and then forward reverb. Here's all the settings. This actually does a lot. I really, really like reverb. I used to not use it at all, but Valhalla does a really great job. So Valhalla Supermassive, and then I actually have gain on my kick because I like it pretty loud in my mix, and this volume wasn't doing it for me, so I just gained it up 6 dB, which seems like a lot. I don't know why, but it works. Okay, moving on to the snare trigger. The snare trigger has 2 parts to it. And if you guys watched my How I Get My Snare Sound video, it has changed now. It actually sounds more like a natural snare now. This is a sum, meaning it's both of the snare trigger tracks, the snare trigger and snare sample. On the sum, I have reverb, so this is gonna be on both of those channels. And it's a Valhalla Supermassive forward reverb, Great Annihilator. I think it's the same one as the kick, and then these are all the settings. And this is what the snare trigger sounds like. Yeah, it sounds really good. You can really hear that reverb in there. Valhalla does a great job. Next we have the snare trigger track. This is the one where we drag, actually this one and the next one is the one where we drag the snare into. And this has, looks like I had snare buzz on there, but I'm not using it, so we'll take that off. I'll explain that in a second. But yes, so this has the trigger. Now, my snare trigger is made up of a bunch of different triggers. We have first the Ish Signature, which is part of the perks.live pack that I said before. And then we have that at this volume. Then we have Seabass Signature, which I believe is a Logic Pro stock sample. So this will come when you get Logic Pro. I have that at that volume. Pay attention to these tunings here because I like a little bit of a deeper sound for my snare. Then I have a Rogers Maple, which is also, I believe, a Logic Pro stock sample. It's down there. Then I have a David Whitworth snare, which I actually made this myself. I inserted the drum track and then cut out one of the snare hits. It actually does not sound like a natural snare. It kind of actually adds more reverb than it does snare sound, which I still like, and it works. Then we have the Dallas Steel, which I believe this is part of the Ish Melton pack as well, perks.live pack. But yeah, so that's my snare trigger track, and sounds really great. This is just the snare trigger track, not the snare sample, which I'll explain to you in a second, but here's what it sounds like. Yeah, sounds really good. Next we have the snare sample track, which has a trigger on it. And these are both samples that I made. I took Brandon Lake, That's Who I Praise, soloed out the drums, took one of those snare hits, and again, adds more reverb. Let's hear what it sounds like actually, just so you guys can see. So it sounds faker than it does real, but again, more reverb than anything. And then we have this Bethel snare sample here, which again, I took from a Bethel song. I couldn't tell you which one though, it's been a while. But yeah, they're at this volume, and that's all that's on the trigger for the snare sample. And then we have a snare buzz. Now this is something I paid for as well, I believe. I forget how much this was, but it really adds a lot to like a natural snare sound. My wires don't really get picked up because I don't have a bottom mic, so this really contributes to that. I have it, snare 4, tightness is 50%, mic distance 0%, and then studio 1. So yeah, this does a lot. And then compression, I have FET fatten compression, and then these are the settings for that. And then that actually does it for my snare. So that's how I get my current snare sound. And to be honest, my snare sound is always changing as I discover new things and everything. So yeah. Next we got the high tom trigger, and I am very proud of my tom triggers. They turn out really, really well. Let's go ahead and hear. I have a point here where I'm hitting the tom a lot. So let's do there. So this is what the high tom trigger sounds like. And then this is the trigger mixed with the natural sound as well, which is how I have it in my mix right now. Yeah, so it's really, really powerful. Sounds really good. So on the high tom trigger, I have a trigger 2. This is turned all the way down. I don't know why that's there. I have a Gretsch 13-inch tom. This is turned all the way up. That came from the Perks.Live pack as well. So really, if you get the Perks.Live pack, you're set to use those samples. Gretsch 13-inch tom. That's all I have for triggers. Channel EQ. I have a refresh snare, and this is everything here. This is the stock EQ plugin for Logic Pro. SSL channel, which I'm actually not using there. I think I'm only using that on the natural sound. Then another EQ, which is a rock snare drum. I don't think this is what it looks like though. I think I modified it. So there it is there. So that's everything on the high tom. And then floor tom, this is what the trigger sounds like by itself. So it has a lot of low end, as you can hear. And then here it is mixed with the natural sound. As you can see, the mic is picking up more than just the tom, which is okay in the situation because it's not really affecting anything. But we have a trigger on it. And again, from Perks.Live, we have a Gretsch 16-inch tom, and then Dallas 16-inch tom. So set up just like that. Let's see, we have a channel EQ, refresh snare, which I think I modified this. This is the same EQ that I use on the high tom. So I did modify it. It's not the actual refresh snare, but there you go. Valhalla Supermassive, I'm not using, it looks like. Another channel EQ, brighten overheads, cutting off some low end and then raising the high end over there. And then tom EQ, which I believe I didn't change anything about this if I'm right. But yeah, there you go. So that's all on the floor tom. And then to finish it off, we're gonna talk about the whole mix. I have some plugins on the whole mix by itself. So here's what it sounds like without those plugins actually. And then with those plugins. So yeah, it actually really makes a huge difference. All right, so on this channel, we have a channel EQ, and it's a refresh snare. I think I did change it again though, so there's all what it's looking like there. And I actually lowered the volume of this too. Compression, we have a drum mix preset and vintage FET. Here's all the settings there. Reverb, we have the Chroma reverb, which is a stock Logic preset. And I have big percussion room, so this is really adding reverb to the whole set itself. And then finish it off, we have more reverb, which is actually the Silver Verb, which is again another Logic stock plugin. And we have a meeting room, and then these are all of these settings there. So yeah, that does it for my drum mix. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. This is basically how I get my drum sound. I know there's some stuff you have to pay for, but you don't necessarily have to get those to achieve a good sound. So I hope you guys learned something from this. And if you have any questions, let me know below, because I know this is a lot of information to take in at once. But yeah, I hope it went well. Feel free to pause the video at any time and rewind. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.